Welcome to Dead and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And other than the fact that I just cut you off mid-sentence to start recording, how are you?
Well, it's okay. You were like, I almost didn't push record, and then I immediately started talking. So, it's totally fair. Um, I'm fine. What I was gonna tell you before we start recording, before I tell you about my life, I realized when we finished recording today, because we're doing this one and the DNA Awards, uh,
Yeah,
I will have recorded 6 episodes for a podcast in 4 days. That
yeah,
is so many.
yeah. Because this is our fourth for this, and then you've done two of the other
Podcast.
one.
So that's good. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I know what podcasts are still. Um, but I'm fine. I had actually a really great day yesterday. It was Brian's birthday, and so I told you I was going to Governor's Island,
Mm.
and I'd never been, and so I took little Sadie because they're doing winter dog days through the end of April, and she just thrived. She
I
had
knew she would. I knew she would.
We were there for like 5 hours. We had to walk behind everyone because she's an old lady now, so she was a little bit
Yeah,
slow. And they were 25-year-olds, so like they moved pretty quickly.
yeah.
Um, and they were like climbing on stuff, and she was just like, and I was like, yeah, just we're gonna do our best, lady. It's fine. Um, but she made new friends. She got some
Yay.
snacks. She got some French fries. She just had the best time. We played Taboo. We had wine. Oh God, it was just a
I
really
love that.
relaxing like spring day. And I hope we go back to winter now because I'm not really ready for spring or summer. But like
Unfortunately, it is snowing here, so
it's snowing.
yeah, I'm fucking pissed.
So jealous. So jealous. I was happy for my one day of spring, but now I'm done with spring until next year. So like I'm also done with summer until next year. So and it hasn't started yet. Um, but like otherwise I felt really like refreshed today and I like obviously we drank. So I like got home and I got like a liquid IV like packet to put in my water and I just thriving. No
I love
problems
that.
today.
I
Feeling
love that.
incredible. How are you?
Well, for my birthday on Saturday, after we finished recording the podcast, I went to see Dan, and he is so cute. He was like, "What do you want to do? Because it's your birthday." And I was like, "I don't care." And he was like, "You say that every day." And I go, "Yeah, I know. I care even less today because it's my birthday." Like I don't. But we went to get coffee at the place where we had our first date.
Oh, that's so cute.
And he was like, it was so weird when I got here because I had like all this nostalgia of like being nervous and like just like, and I was like, oh. And then we went to get all you can eat sushi.
Oh, the best. The best.
Between the two of us, we had 6 rolls. Plus, I had a couple other pieces of sushi, and then we had like noodles and rice. And I think I haven't eaten since then.
Yeah, I mean that sounds right. That sounds right.
But he kept asking if I wanted dessert after because the last roll we had was not good.
Mm.
And so like I didn't want that to be the last flavor in my mouth. So he was like, "So we're getting ice cream, right?" And I was like, "Well, now that you mention it, we don't really have a ton of time, but there's like a local chain here called Anderson's, and there's like 6 or 7 locations, and each location is a different custard of the day flavor. And their banana custard is my absolute favorite thing in the entire world. And one of the 3 locations that's close to us, but not the one that's actually the closest that we should have gone to, had banana. But he drove me out to the other one, even though it almost made me late to work, just so that I could have banana custard.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But then on top of doing all of that, he was like feeling really bad because he didn't have a gift for me. Because he had ordered it, but it wasn't there yet. And I was like, it's fine.
So
It's
no one knew you were going to be together that day. So like
right,
last minute.
right. So he gave it to me last night because it came in while I was at work yesterday. And he got me the hooded cardigan from the Ahsoka Tano line that I really wanted that I wouldn't pay for myself.
Oh,
Oh, I had a very good weekend. And I am not going to give any spoilers about Beetlejuice because we talked about it, but I worked my Beetlejuice shift yesterday, and the sandworm is even more beautiful in person. It's-
love that.
yeah.
Ugh,
So, so I had a great weekend.
you know, we made it through. We did okay.
I think so. Um, Probably because we were living our most spiritual lives. That's probably
Yeah,
why we did okay.
we were. We were.
Yeah.
Even though I forgot about spirituality on Saturday, we absolutely did live our best spiritual lives. And some of you don't even realize how you light up rooms and inspire people just by being you. You're literally magnetic and you don't even realize it.
I love that quote. I feel like I've heard that before.
It's very possible I read it at some other time in the past, but probably far enough away that no one else is going to remember it.
Fantastic. Well, fantastic is not quite the word to describe where we're going.
Like I actually kind of liked this episode.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. It wasn't a bad episode. It just wasn't the most exciting episode in the world. And we're coming off of such a bad episode that I'm just kind of like, eh. And I'm a little sad that I'm so because this is the last episode I'm going to watch before I go meet Richard Dean Anderson.
Oh,
I'm going to have
maybe
to
you
just
should watch
like,
next week's before you go.
yeah, I'm just going to have to watch like some compilations of Jack's best moments to like hype me up.
I like this one though. I think it's okay. It's not gonna. I mean,
Yeah,
it's obviously number one of
no,
the year, but
no.
it had some good. We learned a
But, and
lot.
also, actually, if we're talking about this episode, Jack is probably the best part of this episode, not to spoil anybody's potential MVP picks, but um, he's pretty much the only reason I didn't hate the episode. So there's that. So we're talking about Stargate SG-1 Season 3, Episode 9, Rules of Engagement.
Which, spoiler alert, is not about marriage.
It is not, no. Um, it came out on August 19th, 1999, which thoroughly threw me off because that's a Thursday.
Okay,
Um,
Stargate.
yeah. So every Stargate episode up until this point has come out on a Friday. This one came out on a Thursday, and then there was a month and a half hiatus before the next episode. So I'm just like really not sure what had happened that day.
Just maybe they were just like, we're gonna stir things up to keep it interesting, so they'll come back in a month and a half.
Maybe I probably could have like delved deep into Reddit weirdness to find out why, but I didn't. So
Totally fine.
it was rated 7.1 stars, so better than last week, but not
But not by
epic.
much.
Yeah. Same number one song, same number one movie.
Bless. Good thing we have a month and a half hiatus.
Yeah. The number one book, though, was not the same.
Okay.
And it's also very confusing because the number one book that week was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which
What?
solidly did not come out in 1999.
No, but if you think about it, this is August 99. This
Mhm.
is when like our year we were like I think this is when I read it.
And I will tell you why.
Okay.
Because in June of 99, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban came out, the book. But,
Hmm.
it was released that summer, the third book. And it was when they started announcing the development of the movies because the movies came out in
Sure.
2001. The movie came out in 2001. So we're between the third book and the first movie, and there's like a weird resurgence of people feeling like they need to go back and catch up. So at random points throughout 1999, all of the first three books were the number one bestseller that week at different points.
I may have read it in 98 because I feel like I remember Prisoner of Azkaban coming out on book.
Didn't start reading the books until after the first movie came out because I didn't know they existed because I was very, very churchy.
Yeah,
Um,
I went to the like Barnes and Noble midnight premiere starting with like Goblet of Fire, I think.
I did, or I don't know if I only did five, six, and seven, or if I did four, five, six, and seven, but I definitely didn't read the books until after the first movie came out. So the first book is the only one that I saw the movie first.
Gotcha. I definitely read the books first.
Um, I was friends with a lot of those kids whose parents said witchcraft would send you to hell if you
Right.
read books about it in college or in elementary school. So
Yeah, me
I
too. And
did.
then my mom was like, "That's insane. We're all reading the Harry Potter books, so we can talk about them together."
Yeah, and then well, the Harry Potter movie came out and it had people like Richard Griffiths and Alan Rickman and uh no, Richard Griffiths is Uncle Dursley. Richard Harris is Dumbledore. That's what I couldn't think of his name.
Gotcha.
But so it had all these phenomenal British actors that my parents have always been British
Maggie.
TV
Her last
people.
name?
Uh, Dame Maggie Smith.
Hmm.
And my parents have always been British TV and movie people. So like we saw it just on a whim because of who was in it. And
Yeah.
then it ended up being really, really good. And they got me the book after that. So, but yeah, so that's why I know why. It just was also weird that have the number one bestseller be something that was like 3 years old at that point.
Yeah. That's totally fair. Although that
Um,
is becoming more prominent now than it used to.
because people are going back and rereading things, especially with movie adaptations.
Yeah.
On that day, where there was a protest in Belgrade to demand the resignation of the president of the Federation of Yugoslavia.
Okay.
Um, there was an airplane crash in Hong Kong, but it was also the opening of a Broadway musical because it's a Thursday. We
Well,
just
yeah.
yeah. And it was a musical called Cat and the Kings. It opened at the Court Theater on Broadway and ran until January 2000. It only played 157 performances.
Where's the Court Theater? Is that still open?
I'm sure it's still open, but it probably has a different name at this point because that's what they do.
Right.
Um,
I've never heard of the Court Theater.
oh, it's the James Earl Jones.
Oh, did it just no, it was something else before that too, in between those two, I think.
It has been um, it was the Court Theater from the 1900s until the 19 not nope, it was the Court Theater all the way
James Earl Jones?
until mhm.
Maybe I didn't see anything there until it was the James Earl Jones Theater, and I just like never knew the name of
Yeah,
it.
the Court Theater was the Court Theater all the way until 2022, and then the James Earl Jones, it was named that literally last year.
Yeah, no, I remember when it was named, and then I think I went and saw something there like a month after it got named that. But
Um,
but I must not have seen anything else there before.
it's Bright Star was there.
I didn't see Bright Star.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was been that because that was 2016. That would have been
I was
before
gonna say
you
that was
moved
also
there.
before me, I think.
Yeah. No, the minutes. Did you see the minutes when it
Oh,
was there?
I did see the minutes. Yeah, yeah.
So you have been to the Court Theater as the Court Theater.
I have. That's good.
Yes.
Excellent. I just didn't know what I
Um,
was saying. I was there for the
this.
dress. To be fair, I was there for like the dress. And so like I didn't get a playbill
Oh,
and I
okay.
didn't get a ticket. I was just
Fair,
told where to meet Noelle and I showed up.
fair. Um, it was a musical comedy about apartheid in South Africa, which just feels weird, especially in the 90s. I'm not really sure. It won an Olivier in the on its West End run, and it was nominated for a drama desk, but no Tonys.
Interesting.
I literally have never heard of it. I've never heard a single song from it. I know almost no one who has any relationship to it. Like I literally went through the entire IMDb and clicked on every single person.
So
But
haven't heard
I,
of it. Go ahead.
oh, you're gonna say you haven't
I
heard.
had a continuation. I actually saw the minutes at Studio 54. I didn't see it
Oh,
because it was after COVID, it reopened at Studio 54. I saw the
mm,
Headless Murders right after it turned in James Earl Jones Theater.
okay, okay.
So that's
Um,
it.
So, so this play, never heard of it. No, none of the music, no nothing about it. I literally searched through every single person on the entire IMDb to find any kind of connection, and I did. The stage manager for the
Oh, so
opening
someone
night.
wrote.
What's that? No, this to us, to you and I as
Oh,
human beings.
okay. As human beings, I gotcha.
So the stage manager on opening night is currently the production stage manager for the Hadestown on Broadway, which is my favorite show.
Yeah.
Um, the musical coordinator, who didn't write his name down, but I want to say it was
What
James Smith.
what was the name of the stage manager? Oh, he sounds so good. Who you just said?
Yes, I did. I said it was the stage manager on Hadestown, who is now the production stage manager, or the production stage manager for Hadestown was the stage manager for that show. Of course, I didn't write it down because I suck, but
Yeah, that's okay.
it's fine because nope, that's the wrong thing that I just clicked on. Don't do that. Um,
I'm sorry. I feel like I'm
it,
asking a lot of questions.
no, it's fine. It's a musical that we've never heard of. The stage manager's name was or is, I guess.
Beverly Jenkins.
No, Paul J. Smith.
Mm, got
Um, he was a stage manager, but now he's the replacement PSM.
it.
Um,
For Beverly Jenkins, it looks like.
the
She was the
um,
original production stage manager for Hadestown for opening night.
got it. The musical coordinator, John Miller, who basically, you know what a musical coordinator does. They coordinate all of the musicians. John Miller is currently the musical coordinator for Shocked.
That's
And
right. It was last week.
I literally go, oh my God, hey, we literally just talked about that.
I wonder if I know him. Hey, I know him.
And then the connection that I have is that one of the understudies in this Broadway production that I literally knew most people in the show, this is their only credit. But the one of the understudies was a man named E. Clayton Cornelius, who I personally know because he is on the Ain't Too Proud National
Oh,
Tour.
nice.
So
Yeah, I know John Miller. I was like, that name sounds familiar. I feel like I've heard it recently. Yeah, he comes to the bar all the time with
yeah,
the crew.
yeah.
So I
So
know him.
this musical that we know absolutely nothing about, we actually do because we both personally know people who were involved in it.
I love that. I love that. Yes.
Um,
Good
so
for
that was
them.
my
Glad they're
so
doing better
that,
now.
yeah, that was my so facts of the day for that show or for that day. This episode was directed by William Garrity, written by Terry Curtis Fox, and edited by Richard Benwick. So all people that we have talked about, none of our big names, but they're people that we have already discussed. Our guest star is a man named Aaron Craven. He played,
Is he related to Wes Craven?
you know, I didn't even look. I don't.
You like my just like off the wall questions that I'm
You
like,
are like on
nice.
something today. I don't know what is happening,
I am. I am.
but
Uh, I don't know.
I don't know why. I didn't even look that up, but I don't
It's the
think
weekend.
so. I don't think so because I feel like that would be pretty prominent on like his
It would have been on
trivia.
like IMDb or something probably if he was.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, he is not. His Twitter bio says that guy who was in that thing, also a writer, beer league hockey player, aspiring soap carver, and advocate for people with dementia.
Love that for him. All of those things.
Correct. He is most known for The Predator, the 2018 version,
Hmm.
and The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Hmm.
He has quite a few one-offs, like lots and lots and lots of that. Like he was in one episode of everything because that's what young, vaguely attractive white men do in Hollywood.
Sure.
He was also in a lot of Hallmark movies. Specifically, do you remember back in October when I had like first met Dan's family and we were going to watch a Hallmark movie and it was like the Hallmark movie that like his family is obsessed with, that they
Yeah,
like initiated me into the family with?
right, yes.
He was the main love interest's best friend in that movie.
That's so cute. Oh,
I was like, oh, he was
every
in that Hallmark movie, not just the Hallmark movies, that one. Got it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I had way more fun doing my notes for this episode than I usually do.
Oh goodness.
But then I had to start watching the episode, which I guess is fine. We start in another forest following a UAV to some kind of camp, and I, for a second, literally thought that I was watching the same episode I watched last week.
I did too. I was like, the trees that Jack talked about last week, they're here again.
And then I was like, nope, this is different dialogue. Okay. They get to the top of a ridge and they see a bunch of Jaffa firing on another SG team. And the SG team is not firing back. They figure out that they must be SG-11, who was declared MIA 8 months ago.
Mhm.
And Jack tries to use the comms to tell them that he's there and that he has their back, but they don't answer. So they go in to help. And when they get closer and they try to help, the SG-11 team takes them out instead.
Yeah.
And then we get the credits.
I was like, it's always an interesting episode when we start out with the SG team dying. Like,
Yeah, right.
always a good way to start.
Good. Great way to start. Great way to start. So after that very weird entrance where you didn't know what was happening, I did.
I did not know.
But if I didn't, that would have been very jarring, I think.
Yes, it was. That's correct.
So the team wakes up in this weird medical tent and is trying to figure out what happened to them when another soldier walks in and says that they're in for it. And also, weirdly, Sam has a huge gash on her face that is then not in the episode
No,
almost any other time, and it's never explained. So that's
awful.
but then he says that they're also going to get in even more trouble because they're not pretending to be dead.
Yeah, still very confusing for
And
me.
he's like, you know the rules. And like clearly they don't know the rules. And so this conversation does not make any sense to anyone in the conversation or anyone watching the conversation.
Right.
Um, and then he says that
I had
they,
decided we ended up in an alternate reality where this is SG-11, but in the other reality, they're in some kind of like training program and not. I literally spiraled.
you were
And
like trying to
created
come up
a
with
whole
any
world.
way to make this make sense.
Yes, I created an entirely new world for this to make sense.
Well,
Yeah, that wasn't it.
it wasn't, no. Um, he says that they need to follow him because the captain is waiting for them. Now, I don't know if you know anything about the ranks of soldiers. The captain is not very high.
Well,
I
like,
mean, it's not very
major,
low. It's
commander, you have like all these people I know above them.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's not very low either. I mean, it's still a rank, but like Sam got promoted from captain
right,
to major. So that means that both Sam and Jack fully outrank whoever this person is.
sure, right.
And even if they're not in charge of that mission, they would still fully outrank whoever this person is.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but as he leaves, Jack points out to the SG team that the patch on this kid's arm says SGX, which is not an SG team.
No, and that's what it like further fulfilled my idea that this was an alternate universe.
Yeah, no, SG teams use numbers, not letters. Um, so SG-1 follows this kid through camp, and I don't ever remember learning this kid's name. He's just a child because he even looked like a child. Like he was
They all
so,
looked like children.
yeah. So he follows this kid through the camp and they see like a whole military training base set up. And then they go to the captain's tent and the captain tells them that they are to be casualties until 1400 hours. And Jack is like, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah.
And so he like accosts this guy who then turns around and is like, I don't know how your quadrant does things, mister. And if that is not your first major sign that this is not correct.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, there were lots of signs before that, but
Of
him
course.
calling Jack Mister was like, oh, this is for sure not the military.
Yeah, you truly do not know what you're doing.
Yeah. And he tells Jack that no rank is above the rules of engagement.
That's what I learned, and it wasn't about a wedding.
Jack goes, Major Carter, I've never really been good at rules. What are these rules? And she's like, yeah, I got nothing. But of course, Teal'c knows what they are
Yeah,
because they are part of the Jaffa training code.
gasped. I was very caught off guard. And then I was interested. And I was like, I need to learn more. What's happening here?
Yeah. The captain realizes they came through the Stargate, but he calls it the Chappa Eye, which blows their cover.
Mm-hmm.
So they realize that they have failed their challenge and apologizes to Teal'c and says that Teal'c must execute them for the remainder of the day. Somebody could just like execute me for the remainder of a day. Like, you know what? I have fucked up too much today. I can't do anymore. Just execute me for the remainder of the day and we'll start again tomorrow.
That would be nice. I would be really into that.
Like, I would sleep so much better if it was like an execution than just sleep.
Right. Because then, like, you can't come back and do anything else. You have to stay in bed. It's like, great.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about oversleeping because I have to be here. I have nowhere else to be.
Yes.
That's kind of how I act on Sundays. Just like nowhere to be. I'm going to sleep. I woke up at 1, it's 3 o'clock. Yep, I'll take another nap, no problem.
Perfect.
Mm.
Jack and Teal'c decide to spare them this time. And this Jaffa child was given an Earth name, which is Captain Kyle Rogers.
Of course. His name was Kyle.
Of course, his name is Kyle, but also I wrote Captain Rogers most of the time that I was talking about him. And then I was like,
He is
Steve would never. Steve would never. And so they're practicing battle until the return of Apophis.
And I was like, when they said that, I was like, got some bad news for you. It's gonna be here for
Right.
quite a while, bro.
So they are training to serve Apophis by learning everything they can about Earth and the SG teams. And Rogers tells them that they also have a Jaffa camp that is kept separately, and they fight daily exercises to better learn the ways of Stargate battle. My favorite is that they say we know everything about Earth, and they say corn and cotton are the top crops of North America.
And Jack is like, yep, that's gonna help you survive one day. I was like, what?
Who wrote this episode?
I'm gonna start using that as my go-to every day. Just like when all else fails,
Corn and cotton.
corn and cotton are the number one crops in America.
Um, so they send for the other camp to get the actual Jaffa leader there, And Rogers takes them to the armory to collect their weapons, which were apparently turned in at the end of the battle simulation. They notice that none of the soldiers have symbiote patches, and that is concerning. And Teal'c explains that when system lords are very, very sure that they are on the losing end when they're in the face of defeat, they will use humans as fodder for battle and train them to die, basically.
Yep.
It's cute. Very cute.
Super fun. Super fun.
So they go and get their weapons, but they find that most of the weapons are missing. Or, no, they find a lot of their weapons, but some of their weapons are missing, including Sam's guns and Teal'c's staff.
Yeah.
And we learned that the guns that they have there are Intar, which is a stun weapon that just that is used for training, so it can't actually hurt anyone, but it can be shaped into any kind of weapon. So that's fun.
Which is like super convenient
Yeah,
if it's your weapon and not who you're against.
right. So Teal'c and Jack decide to go talk to Captain Rogers, and Teal'c asks him to bring the vacuum and to assemble his men. Because, Teal'c did in fact used to be a Jaffa master at one point, so he just is now running this camp.
Yep.
Yep, he just a vacuum is like a gigantic fucking hologram. And this ginormous hologram of Apophis appears and says that the warriors in front of him are his messengers and that they bring his news. Obviously, it's just a pre-recorded hologram.
Sure.
And so Captain Rogers has Teal'c inspect his men, and they're looking at them, and Teal'c and
I like
Jack.
it better when you call him Kyle because that's such like a annoying guy name.
Yeah. I just wrote about him as a military person. I think I literally forgot that his name was Kyle. That's why,
I just
because
don't want anyone to confuse him with Captain America because they are very
that's
people.
that's fair, but military people don't have first names, just like General Hammond doesn't have a first name, even though his first name is
But
George.
also, like, he's not military. He's evil.
Kind of.
His name is Kyle.
Hey, Kyle's my cousin.
Well, I'm sure cousin Kyle is lovely.
Oh no, he's also a tool. Like, I mean,
Oh,
I love him, but he's a tool. Um,
mm-hmm.
so, Teal'c tells the men that Jack is much loved by Apophis, which made me choke on my drink a little bit, and that they should listen to him. And that then Jack tells them that the invasion of Earth has been canceled due to rain.
Oh my gosh, I like almost lost it. He was like, yeah, it's been canceled due to, but I was like, rain. I was like, okay. Rain, fire? Like, what are we raining here?
Right. And then Nielsen, who we have just met, who is the number 2 at this camp, who is acting as the Jaffa leader, starts arguing with Jack because Jack doesn't speak like a messenger or a warrior of Apophis. Because he's not, and because Jack couldn't fake it if you fucking paid him.
Right.
And so Kyle and Nielsen won't listen to Jack and Teal'c, so they're like, all right, fine, time to tell everybody the truth. Apophis is dead.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, no, you're still lying.
Mm-hmm.
And then that they decide to continue with their fake battle that they're doing. And the kid, who doesn't have a name except for a child, goes into the armory, and Sam won't let him get a weapon because some of their weapons are still unaccounted for. And Jack keeps insisting to this poor child that the games are going to be canceled, and he won't listen. So they grab Intars and head out to join the battle, where they find another kid dead because somebody took their weapons. And
Right.
Kyle is like, I'll draw the shooter's fire away from you. And Jack's like, please fucking don't. That's a real gun. And then he does. And then he gets shot.
I it seemed so much like one of those like World War II reenactment scenes. That's all I could think about while I was watching this episode.
um, but so when he gets shot, he's worried that he has displeased Apophis. And Teal'c is like, no, Apophis would be proud, which, to be fair, is not really a lie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Um,
He's just super dead, that's all.
yeah. And Rogers is like, well, blood has been shed, so now the final challenge must begin, which is all very confusing.
And very stressful. It feels like it's not a good time.
No. After the battle, all the weapons are turned back in, and Sam secures all the ones that are actually theirs and real. And Jack goes to check on Kyle, who's like dying. But Nielsen is like, it's okay. He won't die. Apophis will save him. And Daniel's like, we're going to take you with us somewhere where you will be able to heal. And then he's like, no, I can't go because the final battle. So Daniel, in one of the few times that Daniel is just brilliant, is like, oh, but we're going to take you to Apophis. And he's like, really? Okay.
Yeah, no question. No more questions.
Um, but the lie detector test determined that that was a lie. And they take him back to SGC. And they send him to the infirmary. And he freaks all the fucking way out and just starts
Like
screaming at
also
everyone.
he believed them way too quickly, especially based on so far every conversation they've had. He's like, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. No, that's not true. And they're like, fine, he's dead. That's why we're here. And he's like, no, absolutely, that's not true. And they're like, we'll take you to him. He's like, done. Yes, I'm on it.
SGC. And he
Just
sees
cut out
General
it.
Hammond and he's like, oh my lord. Like, you know what Apophis looks like.
Yeah,
He does not look like General Hammond. He does not look like Master Hammond of Texas. Like that's
not even a
not.
little bit. Not even a little bit.
Um, but then of course that prompts one of the best moments where Hammond is like, we need to debrief like immediately. And Jack goes, yes, my lord. Um, so at the debrief, Tilk explains to the team that the final battle is basically like the real battle, and that only the strong will survive. And even though they have no weapons, they'll probably just like try to complete the battle anyway and just kill each other. And Sam's like, cool, so we have to stop this. Uh, and Daniel's like, especially since like they would never have gotten to the point of hurting someone if our guns hadn't been there. So like we should probably fix this. And Hammond's like, okay, but like I'm not gonna send you back until I know what the actual F is going on.
Right. I mean, that is totally fair.
So
Totally.
Jack's like, okay, I'll go talk to Kyle. And Janet is like, okay, well, Captain Rogers is physically fine, but he's like angry and emotionally fucked up and will not speak to anyone except for to call me a shulva and throw things at me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm done with him. That's what I would say if I was trash. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm out. He's not gonna
So
die. I did my job.
yeah. So Kyle is like, I'm not gonna talk to Jack. And Jack and he's like, I'm not gonna talk to you, so you might as well just like start torturing me. And Jack goes, oh, I already am. And he's like, listen, you can say what you want, but like the final battle, it's not going to work because Apophis is for real dead. Like I didn't lie to you. And he's like, I don't believe you. And he's like, what if I can prove it? And he's like, okay. So he shows the video that they took of Apophis dying, and which feels weird that they have a video of that until you think about the fact that they probably have security videos of everything happening on the
Yeah,
base all the time.
that's what I was
But
just
like
saying.
it took me a minute to be like, oh no, that but I was like, why did you videotape that? And then I go, that's probably it looks weird because it's on a VHS tape, but like 90s security camera. Got it. Like
But also, like, if you were gonna record anything and you like had a brain, I would probably want to record that because then you when this situation
But
arises.
also just like so that when you have proof that Apophis was fucking there, so when like all these shitty politicians are telling you the program does nothing, you're like,
Look, he's here. He died.
yeah.
We won.
Um, so Rogers is like, okay, the biggest problem is that my men are still gonna kill people or like still gonna die over Apophis. Like, I believe you. I do. But what about my men?
Yeah, which is like fair. It's a fair
Yeah. So they go back to a debrief, and Kyle tells all of the team that in the beginning, like Office brought them there, and there was a lot of Jaffa masters, and that SG-11 was coerced into like getting all of the info about Earth to them, but then they wouldn't like talk fully. So eventually, they just died, and by died, I mean they were executed in the middle of the town square like heathens.
yeah.
Um,
And he's like, I don't know what happened. They were just suddenly there and dead. I was like,
But then also the Jaffa Masters all started to slowly leave, and then they've been gone for like 5 rotations of the planet
yeah.
because Apophis is dead. Um, and then he's like, General Hammond's like, thank you for your appreciation or like your help. And he's like, yeah, of course. But now I need your help because, fun fact, there are real weapons on the planet that only Nielsen and I knew about so that we could get them for the final battle, and now everyone's gonna die.
But also, like, could you imagine how detrimental that would be if all you had to do was show someone a video of someone dying and then they gave you everything that you wanted to know? Because, like, now we have like deep fakes and stuff. Like, could you imagine?
That could not have worked
No,
now.
no. Kyle would just be like, but granted, like, if you find someone who's been there for like 20 years, doesn't know what technology is,
To be fair, if somebody showed me a video of someone dying, I would believe them because like
I would believe them, but I don't think I would just like give everything up either. I'm saying I'm more about the like he gave everything up really quick after that.
yeah, I guess. Um, so he wants to go back. But everyone's like, yeah, but like your men aren't gonna believe you. You didn't believe us. So
Mhm.
Sam's like, okay, well, why don't we use the vacuum to show the other men the video of Apophis dying?
Pretty smart, pretty smart.
Yeah. So Kyle and Jack lead SG-1 into battle to try to get the vacuum to the people in the camp. They go in, shoot first, ask questions later, is their motto. Because
Yeah.
they have INTARs, so they're not actually hurting people. And so they go to camp to get everything set up, and Jack and Kyle are out in the field, like protecting the camp, while Teal'c and Sam and are getting the vacuum set up. Is Daniel with Teal'c and
I
Sam?
don't know. I couldn't find Daniel.
I
I
don't
think he
know
was
if
with
Daniel.
Jack and
I was like,
Kyle.
I don't even know if Daniel is on the planet. Daniel might have just like stayed home and ate a sandwich. Like, I don't
It
fucking
would.
know.
I probably would have if I was Daniel because he's been put into military situations, and as much as he's a part of this group, he is not military.
Correct.
And that's what I was thinking
Um,
at the very beginning of this episode when he's like rolling around with all of them.
yeah. It turns out that there's like a lot more weapons in that cave than they thought. So shit is getting a little dangerous.
Hmm.
But Sam gets the vacuum working, and the men stop fighting and come to see what Apophis has to tell them. And the video of Apophis plays, and everybody cries a little. And by cries a little, I just mean they feel things. And then Nielsen is like, but now what do we do? And Kyle says, we go home. And then the episode ends.
Yeah. I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it either. I thought it was again, I thought again it was a interesting concept that just wasn't fleshed out as well as I wanted it to be. Not nearly as egregiously as last week,
No, not
but
nearly as egregiously. And I think that's why, like, I think watching it after last week is why I liked it more.
right. Because
You
you're
know,
like, oh, thank God it's not last week's episode.
right, right.
Um,
But like if I had seen it 2 weeks ago, I probably been like, meh.
yeah,
We talked about Apophis again, so at least we're tying it into like the story. But
right. Um, I looked at trivia and then I was like, there's only a couple good ones, but of course now I don't remember what any of those good ones were. There was one very intensely detailed piece of trivia about the type of machine gun tripod that there was that I find not even a little bit interesting.
Like the
Because
tripod, not even the machine gun?
no, no, a tripod mounted machine gun, which is the Browning 50 caliber M2 HB standard heavy machine gun that's used up to 2020. But it says, well, what's interesting is this
Oh,
gun was designed in 1918 and has been in common use since 1933. A 100-year-old design is still the best available.
well, that is just fascinating. Best news I've
Um,
heard all day.
right. It's our first appearance of in-car weaponry. Um, There was some weird continuity about Sam's scar. There was some continuity issues about weather, some continuity issues about Jack's sandwich.
Because Daniel ate it. Was back on Earth eating Jack sandwich instead of being
Oh,
on the planet with the rest
right.
of people.
Yes, got it. I was like, what? Um, but then I have this. Oh, I found the one that I giggled about. Plot holes. It is never revealed how Apophis was able to replicate all of this Earth equipment, uniforms, weapons, including mortars, tents, etc. And this is the only episode where the Goa'uld are shown to be able to do this.
Well,
Just-
that's fine.
which is also interestingly why I knew for sure what this episode was because the other day,
It never happened
uh,
again.
well, because the other day it came up on a Reddit post that it was such a fascinating concept of like a Black Ops Jaffa training that
Mhm.
then never gets addressed again.
That's fine. That's fine.
Um, so yeah, my favorite things are when they bring things up that are part of the major story arc, but then are also not part of the major story.
Right, right. They're like, this
Um,
is part of our plot line, but it's also very much not canon. Like,
correct.
totally fine.
Totally fine. Um, so who would you like to punch?
That kid in the beginning that kept telling them they were dead and they had to play dead for whatever, 12 hours or whatever, and would like not let up.
I would like to punch Nielsen
Mhm.
because he took his role as Jaffa leader slash number two in command far, far too seriously for my liking.
Yeah.
I found him to be very pompous, and I did not care for him
Yeah.
at all. Um, he also looked incredibly familiar, but like in a way where I only know what he looked like. I couldn't tell you what he looked like now because this show's from 30 years ago. Um, and I but I did not look him up because I will do that later because this is not the only episode that he appears in. Don't worry, not as this character because again, 90s.
It's the 90s, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's who I'm gonna punch.
Good times. Good times. Love that.
Who was your MVP?
Well, even though you tried to give away a spoiler alert earlier, I did not pick Jack. I picked Tilk because he
Fair.
really stepped up and he like made everyone listen and he like used his knowledge for good and I
Yeah.
really loved it.
No, that's very valid. Jack was just, despite the fact, like Jack was very much in charge while also like yielding to Teal'c's knowledge. Like he never stopped being Teal'c's commanding officer,
Sure.
but like stepped back to let Teal'c be in charge because
Mhm.
he knew he had to. And that is a role we don't get to see Jack play
Yeah.
a lot. And also in an episode that kind of felt a little dry in terms of dialogue for the most part, Jack's one-liners were like extra
Yeah,
helpful this time around.
for sure.
So I find your choice of Teal'c very, very valid, but I am still picking Jack.
That is totally fair. That's totally
Yeah.
fair.
So, yeah.
I would like to also note that this was another episode, two in a row, where we didn't really get a lot of Sam, and I'm ready for some more Sam again.
I the next episode may not give you a lot of Sam, but it will give you something else that you desperately want. And so that's all I'm gonna say as a teaser for next week.
Great, I'm ready.
Um, as a teaser for you guys who watch both Sci-Fi Sunday and Early Thursday, our next episode is the fourth annual in 3 years DNA Awards
Da, da, da.
because we have finished Bates Motel, which was a very short show, and felt like we like watched it ridiculously fast because I mean we did.
Okay, it was 5 seasons. It wasn't that short. It was still 50
No,
episodes.
but I mean like it just feels like we just started watching it
Oh,
because
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
it flew by so fast. But then when I went to like get notes for the DNA Awards, I was like, I for sure don't remember this.
yeah, yeah. I had a lot
So
too.
it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But if you
I have
want,
so many random things.
yeah, if you have nominations or predictions for the DNA Awards, or any thoughts or theories about what could possibly be the thing that Courtney really wants to happen next week in Stargate, you can email us at deafandaliens@gmail.com or follow us on all of the social media at Deaf and Aliens. You can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CE Cloud 13.
And we will see you guys on Thursday. Bye.